Hello, welcome to your Met Office 10-day trend. There are signs of drier, perhaps sunnier weather just around the corner. And by just around the corner, I'm really talking about next week. The rest of this week, the next 5 days, it is more of the same weather-wise. There'll be showers, longer spells of rain, often quite blustery. And after a couple of mild days, it is also going to turn colder again. Although, having said all that, Friday does look like a dry day for most. But for a longer spell of drier weather, well, we are going to have to wait until next week. But there's now some pretty strong signals that high pressure will arrive. Haven't seen that for quite some time. Certainly bringing drier weather, the likelihood of chilly nights and some frost, the possibility that if we see some sunshine, it could just start to feel a bit more like spring. Before we get there, though, we do have to contend with further areas of low pressure. One weather front swinging across the country tonight, bringing some wintry weather. Another low bringing more wet and windy weather during Thursday. The isobars squeezing together. Follow those isobars, and as that system clears on Thursday, well, the air is going to be coming down from the north. That's some pretty cold air. Haven't seen much of that through the winter. It doesn't last, but it will bring a bit of a chill for many on Friday morning. But on Friday itself, this little bump in the isobars, well, that is a tiny ridge of high pressure. So as I said at the start, for many, Friday looks like being a dry and a fine day, although you will notice there are more weather fronts, another low pressure system waiting in the wings. That will bring rain to the west later on in the day. But as I said, for many parts of the country, Friday, after a cold start, looks largely dry and bright. That rain in the west, though, that area of low pressure will move across all parts during Friday night, bringing rain followed by showers for most on Saturday, followed by another low for Sunday. Again, the isobars fairly close together. Going to be a blustery weekend. And there's a little wriggle, a little ripple, or a wave, as we call it, on that weather front. And that has the potential to bring some heavy rain. Now, don't rely too much on the details at this stage. Waving weather fronts are notoriously tricky to predict the details of, but that could just bring some heavy rain for a time across parts of the UK on Saturday night and into Sunday. Generally, over the weekend, we are back to showery, breezy conditions. Beyond the weekend, though, beyond the weekend, it does look as if the weather will be finally settling down. The jet stream is the key to all this. It's been south shifted over recent weeks, taking low pressure systems across the UK. Over the next few days, well, it has some ripples and wiggles in it that will enhance those low pressure systems. But by the time we get to early next week, the jet stream is back further north, and it's steering the low pressure systems further north up towards Iceland, allowing high pressure to dominate across the southern parts of the UK at least. So here, looking like a fine start to the working week. But notice that low isn't too far away from northern Scotland, and there'll be strong winds and some outbreaks of rain here. But generally, it is high pressure taking control next week. How long will it stick around for? That's the big question. Well, this chart suggests it's going to stick around for a while, for most of next week. I've been showing this chart for the past few weeks on the 10-day trend. It shows the pressure tendency, the most likely pressure scenario across the UK. Blue is low pressure, red is high pressure. Down the y-axis here, we're going back in time, and these are the forecast days ahead. So the most latest run of the computer model suggesting that high pressure will be in control. And the last few model runs have had a strong suggestion that through the middle part of next week, yes, it will be high pressure in control. Some uncertainty about exactly how we get there. And that red line there, well, that's showing us that ridge, that area of high pressure that we saw for Friday. So yes, high pressure is set to build in next week, bringing drier weather. However, the position of the high is key to the exact type of weather that we see. So the exact shape and position of the high will tend to move around in forecasts over the next few days. But the high pressure, if it's sitting like this, well, that's fairly straightforward. Slap bang over the UK, then most parts of the UK will see dry weather. It means this time of year, the nights are still long enough for some frosty conditions, but by day we should see some sunshine, and there's a bit of power in the sun as well, so it will feel like spring in the sunny spells in the afternoon. However, high pressure can be in control of our weather, but not necessarily sitting right over us. If the high is shifted further south, then fine and dry across much of England and Wales in this scenario. But around the area of high pressure, the winds could be coming in like this across Northern Ireland and Scotland, bringing more cloud, more moisture, and therefore some rain. Equally, the high pressure could be shifted in a slightly different orientation. If it's a bit further north, well, then across Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern Britain generally, yes, sunny with light winds. But around the high, we could start to see the winds coming in like this. Fairly brisk winds across East Anglia and southern England, bringing a cold feel and more moisture off the North Sea, and therefore a bit more cloud. So high pressure doesn't necessarily mean sunny everywhere. It does mean that next week looks an awful lot drier across most of the UK, which is good news given such a wet February, and we are likely to see some nighttime frost. Some sunshine is expected, but the details of exactly where and when, well, for that you'll need to stay tuned. To stay up to date, and the best way to do that is to follow the Met Office on social media.